It seems the world's weather has gone completely crazy. This year, Britain has seen record-breaking highs. And lows.
Seriously, this is like a horror movie.
A beast from the east.
Just digging out one of the gritters. Everyone tomorrow, stay at home.
And a blistering heat wave.
Look at the state of the roads here, melted tar.
Flash floods. Whoa! And wildfires. These days, we're braced for just about anything. And much of it is being caught on camera. But are the events of this year a taste of what the future holds for Britain's weather? Tonight, massive downpours and flash floods leave a pensioner in peril.
We felt trapped. There was no way for us to get out. There was water everywhere. We were like an island.
A freak weather phenomenon at the height of the heat wave.
Never seen anything like it. It was mesmerising to see. An absolute one-off.
And the extreme weather around the world that's causing chaos and destruction.
It was just a honeymoon from hell.
I didn't know if we were going to get out there alive.
Plus, experts reveal what's causing our weather to become more extreme.
It's been a remarkable year. I think we've seen every single weather phenomenon in just the space of a matter of months.
Due to the impact of climate change, the temperature will gradually be warming. The temperatures that we experienced in the summer of 2018 will be pretty much our normal temperatures.
This is Weather from Hell, caught on camera. British weather is notoriously unpredictable. And 2018 has been an exceptional year of extremes.
Now the tides come over the top of my car.
As February turned to March in Britain, springtime was put on hold as we braced ourselves for a massive cold front from Eastern Europe.
She can't get up.
It was called the Beast from the East. It brought one of the coldest periods of weather Britain had seen in 30 years.
Parts of Britain are colder than the Arctic tonight.
For only the second time ever, the Met Office has issued its most serious red warning.
Temperatures of -11 and 65-mile-per-hour winds caught us all by surprise. So, what caused the blizzard-like conditions and bone-chilling temperatures? Dr. Peter Innes is a leading meteorologist who studies extreme weather events.
The typical wind direction for the UK during the winter is from the west. If the wind direction turns around to the east, the air comes from Central Europe and even sometimes as far back as sort of Siberia. So very cold, dry air coming across the UK over a period of several weeks gives us that really biting cold weather where the wind feels like it's blowing right through you.
We ain't getting much further. Oh my God.
Whoa, it's crazy.
As the beast attacked, a full-scale whiteout cut off whole communities. And more than 1,000 schools were closed across the country. To add to the chaos, the beast from the east then collided with Atlantic storm Irma, which had blown in from the south. Together they created the ultimate weather bomb, stopping motorists.
I don't want us to get stuck.
How can they get through then?
And rail passengers in their tracks.
We've just been stuck on a train for about 2.5 hours. Luckily now we can walk down the tracks.
The country was at a standstill. For weather presenter and meteorologist Lucy Verasamy, the conditions were the most extreme she'd ever experienced.
To exacerbate the cold, snowy conditions that we already had across the country, we then had a low pressure system form to the southwest of Europe. It was named by the Portuguese Met surfers as Storm Irma, and it got tangled up within our cold air, so produced even more snow. The forecast charts were coming out with numbers none of us had ever seen in our lifetime.
The combination of snow and strong winds led to 3-metre snowdrifts, causing mayhem on our roads. But for some, it was business as usual.
Thank you, mate.
Trucker Kevin Taylor was hoping to squeeze in one more shift.
The day the beast from the east hit, I started my day from Swindon.
Storm day. It's bitter cold out there. Oh, -6.
The roads were treacherous. Where they'd managed to clear the snow had now turned into an ice rink with black ice.
The windscreen wipers are frozen up, so it's not clearing the windscreen very well. Definitely coming into the blizzard condition stages.
Really was terrible conditions for driving in.
All the cars are driving so slow, slipping and sliding as it is.
After Kevin had done his final drop at Southampton docks, the conditions worsened.
As soon as I tried to leave the docks, it was absolute gridlock.
Nothing's moving. This weather's supposed to be in for the night and tomorrow. So if I don't get home tonight, I'm probably not going to get home tomorrow.
Warnings were being issued to stay off the roads. But it was too late for Sarah Khan, who was on her way home to Leeds when she came to a standstill.
It was strange because at first there wasn't any cars going onto the M62. I should have guessed then, but I didn't. Seriously, this is like a horror movie. Cars are moving on that side, you can see. But this side, total, utter standstill. That's when I did the videos. 7 hours, 53 minutes. And look, I've gone grey, seriously.
In Hampshire, it was still gridlock for Kevin.
It is 10 o'clock now. Got about half a mile in 6 hours.
There was lots of emergency vehicles racing about all over the place.
Kevin and Sarah weren't the only motorists trapped in their vehicles. Across the country, the snow and freezing temperatures were wreaking havoc on the roads. Conditions were so bad, the next few days would see an estimated 8,000 collisions. The emergency services were struggling to cope.
I've just read from Hampshire Police saying, #831, we've requested military assistance and are on scene with our partners and are working to get people out as soon as possible.
By now, Kevin had been trapped for 6 hours, but at least he wasn't about to go hungry.
I had lots of supplies, I had lots of water, and I carried lots of dry food with me.
Noodles in a cup. I ain't gonna starve.
So I was rummaging in the back seat and I found some chocolate biscuits. Look at that! Oh my days, it was like heaven. Happy Bunny, I'm rationing them, so I'm gonna have half a bar now, which is 9.56, and then I'll have the other half at 9.59.
A full 24 hours after setting off from Swindon, Kevin finally arrived back home.
We're here! 4:30, and we finally made it back to the yard.
Meanwhile, Sarah's epic commute was also coming to a close.
Guess who's home? I made it! The whole thing took 19 hours. I was so chuffed to get home. I could have travelled round the world for 19 hours. M62 horror story over.
The beast from the east caused chaos across the country. And the roads became a nightmare. Many found their own way to beat the beast.
Whoa!
although some were more successful than others. And as the white stuff kept on coming, the deep freeze wasn't all bad.
Oh, wow.
Cute.
Brits love to moan about the weather. If it's not too cold and windy,
awful out there anyway. I would hate to be in one of those tents at the moment.
It's too hot.
It's 9:30 in the morning and it is 26 degrees.
And this year has been one of the hottest since 1976, when temperatures peaked at 35 degrees, and it seemed like the whole country took to the beaches. In 2018, just 3 months after our coldest spring in a generation, Britain was hit by another record-breaking hot spell.
Today looks set to be the hottest day of the year so far.
Mercury rises, the streets are a haze, and parks are becoming carpeted with bodies.
And the heat health watch has now been issued for parts of the country.
Our longest heat wave in more than 40 years led to some unexpected sights.
Look at the state of the roads here. This is actually wet tar, melted tar.
What was unique about this year, this summer, was the intensity and the longevity of the hot, sunny conditions we had throughout the summer. And it started off really early in the year.
Due to the impact of climate change, the temperature will gradually be warming. The temperatures that we experienced in the summer of 2018 will be pretty much our normal temperatures.
Our incredible heat wave wasn't all fun and games. At its height, the extreme heat also sparked wildfires across the country.
You see the flames going through the smoke there?
You can by the side screens there.
It's going to be our field that goes next. Oh, bloody hell.
In total, they burnt through 13,000 hectares of land, more than 4 times the yearly average of the past decade.
The hot, sunny weather basically dries out the vegetation, turns it into a tinderbox, and any flame or spark can then create terrible conditions. The thing about wildfires is as well, they generate their own wind. It's really hard to predict where they're going to go. It just makes them even more dangerous.
And England's largest wildfire in living memory happened on Saddleworth Moor near Manchester. James Crowther and his family have owned a sheep farm on the moors since the 1950s.
Sunday evening, I had a phone call, said there was a fire on the moor. It was massive, you'd never seen anything like it. It just grew out of control, like it was just drought conditions up there, everything set on fire.
James and his friends attempted to tackle the blaze themselves.
We were fighting it on the front. It was red hot, it was blistering heat, blowing in your face, like acidic burn in your chest.
But the fire spread too quickly and they had to immediately retreat.
We knew the fire was getting out of control and there was nothing we could do.
Further down the valley, near the towns, the blaze was having an equally damaging effect.
The only way to describe it was a ring of fire. It was all around us. Literally from 10 o'clock to 11 o'clock, I would say, it burnt the whole length of the hill.
For resident Sean Quamby, who lives at the foot of the moors, the fire was getting too close for comfort. The suffocating smoke was becoming a major problem.
It was thick. If you could stick your hand in front of your face, it was probably about as far as you could see. The condition became really bad. You needed to cover your mouth in order to be able to actually get a good breath. Literally wet towels at the bottom of the doors to seal your windows shut. There was no other way to really keep it out.
At its peak, the wildfire covered 7 square miles of moorland. Helicopters were sent to help firefighters tackle the blaze. Pilot Guy Hitchens and his crew were the first to respond.
I've been working on these sorts of operations for 6 or 7 years, and we've never really seen anything of quite this magnitude before.
This footage from his helicopter captures the devastation on the ground below.
You go in expecting, obviously, not good things, but to see the extent of the smoke and how far it was burning was quite horrific.
Back on the ground, with dry conditions and the wind fanning the flames, the situation was becoming more dangerous.
We knew we had to get the sheep off the moorland before the fire burnt through and trapped them against fences and killed them all.
James and his team had to find a way to get there as fast as possible.
Going out on the quads was scary, really. We were trying to find the sheep in thick fog, smoke conditions. And we hit the front of the fire, we hit the flames, and we nearly burnt the quad bikes. We found a 10-metre break in the flames and shot through and could see where we were going to get the sheep.
Thanks to James's quick thinking with the quad bikes, they managed to round up 400 sheep. From above the smoke, Guy was doing his best to tackle the blaze.
We'll come in with the bucket around about 15 to 20 feet and we'll almost come to a hover directly above and just drop 500 litres straight on it. Not only got to attack the fire front, we've got to try and protect the ground crews as well.
Along with Guy and the other helicopter crews, it took 160 firefighters and 100 military personnel 3 weeks to contain the blaze.
Often wildfires are put out naturally by a weather system coming through and dumping a load of rain on the fire. That didn't happen this year. The fire was able to get a really good hold, and in some cases the fire was even able to propagate through the ground by burning peat, and so would pop up somewhere where you perhaps weren't expecting it to, simply because it burnt its way through the soil. So that in turn made it very difficult to contain.
Coming up, flood warning. The pensioner plucked from her home when the waters began to rise.
We felt trapped. There was no way for us to get out. There was water everywhere. We were like an island.
See that deep this is?
And how a great British downpour turned a pub into an inner-city swimming pool.
At that point, we were thinking, how much higher can we climb? We're already on the tables, and there's not much further we can go.
If there's one thing Britain does well, it's rain.
Cheers.
On average, we get more than 130 days of rain a year. There's no getting away from it. But with rain comes flooding. And Cornwall gets more than its fair share.
I don't know whether the car's going to be moving anywhere. I don't think he's going anywhere either.
The Cornish coast is quite prone to flash flooding events because the series of quite steep-sided valleys, all that rain is then on the ground and trying to get out of the valley and therefore flooding the village.
At the height of summer, retired postmistress Penny Hamill and her husband were at home in this picturesque Cornish village when the weather suddenly turned.
I've lived in Coverack for over 50 years and I've never seen anything like that, not such heavy rain for so prolonged.
Unusually high rainfall on the hills surrounding Coverack started pouring into the village.
When the water started coming down the front path, then I realised it was more than just an ordinary rain shower, and it just went on and on.
In just 3 hours, 2 weeks' rain had fallen. Enough to fill 200 Olympic-sized swimming pools.
Once the back door got broken in, then it was 5 or 10 minutes and we had to get out of the room. It was just like the Titanic sinking. And we both nearly went into tears and it was so dreadful. We went upstairs and we never came down again.
Their house was now under 6 feet of floodwater. Having escaped to the top floor, Penny and her husband could only watch as the water levels rose.
We felt trapped upstairs because there was no way for us to get out. We looked out the skylight and there was water everywhere. We were like an island.
With no other way to reach the couple, a Coast Guard helicopter was deployed to rescue them.
When the Coast Guard came, we were so relieved. We could hear it and we could see through the skylight it coming. They're trying to get in, but of course we couldn't get the window open. So in the end they came round the front and we could hear them move around the front, and then one man came down and I went first.
They were finally winched to safety. Daredevil Penny taking it all in her stride.
I wasn't too worried about dangling in the air. So I've done a zip wire for charity, so I wasn't worried about that part. And they dumped me unceremoniously on my bottom in the field. We were just glad to be out.
It was only when the water receded that the full extent of the damage was revealed.
My husband Chris and I came back on the following day and everywhere was just a complete mess. It was very hard losing all our sentimental things, and everything was just had to be thrown out, and it was very, very sad.
The flash flood in Coverack took less than an hour to engulf the village. So it's no surprise that a rain shower is now enough to make Penny nervous.
When it rains heavily, once or twice I've worried about it, but hopefully we'll never get it like that, not here. I don't think lightning will strike twice in the same place.
The events seen in Coverack are not an isolated experience. Severe flooding is becoming more common across Britain due to global warming and rising temperatures.
With a warming atmosphere, a warmer atmosphere can hold more water. So we're going to get more water, we're going to get heavier rain over the coming year. So more flooding is likely.
And in our towns and cities, urban flooding is now more likely than ever before, bringing with it unexpected dangers.
Whoa! Holy!
But even as the water levels rise, we still find ways to keep our spirits up.
Go on, get him in, boys, get him in! Yes, Edward!
Like these guys, Loxley McPherson was also enjoying a pint when a downpour struck in Nottingham.
I'd met my friends after they finished work.
Oh no, is that me?
The weather forecast for that day did suggest that there was going to be rain. Wow. But definitely didn't suggest it was going to be a sudden downpour.
Oh, look at that guy on his bike!
It got heavier and heavier, and the water started rising outside.
Yes!
And soon it wasn't just the beer that was flowing.
It's coming in? Oh no. When we first saw the water coming in through the doors, at first I was thinking to myself, how serious is this going to be? But then we were thinking, this is Nottingham, it can't get that bad, surely.
We are trapped in the pub.
While water was sloshing round the pub, the customers still had the chance to get sloshed.
Staff were actually still behind the bar, and some people were still ordering drinks.
Oh my God, this is serious.
Me and my friends were at the same time trying to decide, shall we go out now in the rain while it's at this level, or should we wait until we have to swim out?
Look at this.
No one was prepared to give up their pint, and I wasn't prepared to give up my pint either. We just continued to have a drink.
We started thinking about standing on tables, because look how high this is out there.
At that point, we were thinking, how much higher can we climb? We're already on the tables, and there's not much further we can go.
Look at the water. Look outside.
My friend, who I was meeting, she'd parked her car in the pub car park.
Oh no.
By now, the water was so high, the power of this flash flood was clear for all to see.
And it was one of the cars that was floating by, so that was very unlucky for her.
Oh, the white car is my friend's car. I can see it, that one in the middle, right there.
Just 2 feet of flowing water has enough force to carry away a car.
There was nothing that she could do. It definitely wasn't going to start, and she wouldn't be able to drive a floating car. That's more like a boat.
But some people were in no hurry to go anywhere.
A guy sleeping on top of his car.
Not sure what was going on with the guy who was laying flat on his back. I guess he was sort of in the moment, just doing the only thing he could do, really.
With a break in the rain, it was time to make a dash for it.
Oh, this is horrible. Who would have thought asking people to meet up with me tonight would turn into being washed out?
As intense downpours become more frequent, around 5 million properties in Britain are at risk of flooding.
The flash flood in Nottingham was a classic example of urban flash flooding, really. Very heavy rain over a very short period, over quite a limited area, and a lot of an urban area will be covered with tarmac, concrete, buildings. All that rain is running off the buildings onto the roads. There's nowhere for the water to go.
With flash floods, you're getting a lot of rain falling in a short space of time over a relatively small area. That whooshes down and water follows the path of least resistance, so it often will then all funnel down a road, filing into buildings, and it all happens so quickly.
Coming up, with Britain braced for more extreme conditions, 2 honeymooners get a taste of the world's wild weather.
The scene was like a war zone. It just looked like we'd been bombed. It was horrendous.
No, there it goes straight across there, look at it. Wow.
And experts reveal the incredible weather event that's surprisingly common in Britain.
We actually see more tornadoes per square mile than the US.
The past year has seen Britain battered by some of the most extreme weather of modern times. But is this just the beginning? In the future, will we get more wild weather of the kind usually found in other parts of the world? 2018 has brought everything. From torrential flooding in Greece, to powerful storms in China, and record temperatures in California, leading to the worst wildfires in their history. Whether at home or abroad, we're at the mercy of the elements. And some of nature's most extreme offerings are hurricanes, typhoons, and cyclones. This year has shaped up to be one of the most devastating on record. From the fury of Hurricane Florence in the US, to deadly force in the Far East. But every year, the hurricane season means people have to be prepared for the worst. Sam and Tony Baines were just 4 days into their honeymoon in Cuba. When they got wind, they were about to be joined by an unwelcome visitor.
Pillar Beach, paradise. As you can see, beautiful.
We'd saved up all year to have this lovely holiday. It was glorious. It was really scenic. It was beautiful, right on the beach.
Meanwhile, vet Adam Birch was 900 miles away on the British Virgin Islands in the Caribbean.
When I arrived in the middle of August, it was absolutely a paradise, beautiful. The wildlife there's fantastic. It's a bit of a haven for some very rare and exotic forms of wildlife.
But the idyllic island experience was about to change. A Category 5 hurricane, the highest possible level, was heading their way. At its peak, Hurricane Irma was over 400 miles across. Seen from space, it looked absolutely terrifying.
I remember a siren going off and then everybody running out the pool and everyone sort of like gathering, running towards the rooms. And then that's when we were told we'd been evacuated within the next hour.
Sam and Tony were moved to another hotel, supposedly out of the line of fire.
And we were told we had to go back to our rooms, and then we were told we had to set up in the bathroom, make a bed in the bath, put your mattresses against the windows, and shut your curtains basically and just wait for it to pass. We'd hear lots of banging, lots of noise. They'd actually locked the doors so we couldn't get out into the foyer. So we were just on lockdown in our rooms.
It was the same situation hundreds of miles away on the British Virgin Islands. Adam and his friends barricaded themselves in and braced themselves for the worst.
quite a scary moment, realising that most of our houses had got no shutters on, nothing was boarded up. We didn't really know how serious it would be because none of us had ever experienced anything like that before. The wind started picking up and it felt at first nothing more than maybe a light breeze, gradually getting stronger. Got to the point where things started to shake. The sound that you hear when the hurricane hits is absolutely terrifying. You can't hear yourself think, it's ridiculously loud.
180-mile-an-hour winds left a trail of devastation for hundreds of miles, across 11 Caribbean countries over 3 days.
The whole roof's coming off at the top. The wind got up, the trees started snapping and things were flying everywhere. Coconuts reacted like ballistic missiles just hitting the walls and rain was coming in. And then when you get into the eye, it just went deathly calm, just absolutely flat, nothing. It's very scary.
As the eye of the storm, the calmest part of the hurricane, passed over the island, it brought with it 2 hours of respite. But the nightmare wasn't over yet.
At the second wall of the hurricane, it's immediate, incredibly strong winds in the completely opposite direction that just tears up anything that's been loosened, and everything just goes flying. The hurricane shutters were ripped physically from the walls. We were worried then about the windows breaking. It's not knowing what's going on outside and how long it's going to last and what's going to fly off next, and whether in a moment's time the roof is going to disappear and you're going to be sucked out with it.
Those super wind speeds made Irma the strongest Atlantic hurricane in history.
Very frightening it was. You started getting frightened, then you didn't show it at first, did you? But no. We were sort of saying, right, is this it? Could hear everything battering outside, the buildings crashing down. I think you forget it's your honeymoon and you go into survival mode. I didn't know if we were going to get out there alive.
I believe it was real. We just thought it was just a honeymoon from hell, or it was turning into that. We just wanted to go home.
In the British Virgin Islands, after 24 hours of taking cover, it was finally safe for Adam to go outside.
The whole road, everything was just completely demolished. It was like a nuclear bomb had gone off. Trees had been uprooted. I've never seen anything like it. To actually live through it, to experience it as it's happening, is just indescribable.
In Cuba, Sam and Tony's ordeal lasted for nearly 2 days.
The scene was like a war zone. It just looked like we'd been bombed. There was so much debris about, it was horrendous.
Irma left a trail of devastation which it's estimated will cost more than £120 billion to clear up. Over its life cycle, a hurricane can expend as much energy as 10,000 nuclear bombs.
The intensity was the key factor. Winds of 180 miles an hour, one of the strongest storms ever recorded in the Atlantic basin, and it was a record breaker in terms of just the length of those powerful winds.
Sadly, last year, Hurricane Irma very much took the path through some of the most populated destinations and holiday hotspots, causing huge amounts of destruction. It really was such a powerful storm with such a long shelf life. It was simply gaining more energy as it went through the warm waters of the Caribbean.
A storm of this force is enough to put a strain on any relationship.
I was getting a little bit moody with Sam because it was her idea to go to Cuba in the first place. So.
Absolutely ripping it down here.
Oh, I did think of divorce.
Some of the damage that Irma did.
A hurricane is formed by a ferocious combination of winds of at least 74 miles an hour and warm tropical waters.
You don't get hurricanes around the UK because the water's too cold. They only form in the tropics. You need that very warm water. You need lots of water vapour in the atmosphere as well, and that allows clouds to build up and gradually develop into this revolving tropical storm that we see on satellite pictures.
Hurricanes, typhoons and cyclones are all monster storms that can form over tropical waters.
There is basically no difference between a hurricane, a typhoon and a cyclone. They're the same storm systems, they're just given different names depending on where they appear in the world. So in the Atlantic, it's a hurricane. Across the dateline, it becomes a typhoon.
One country well known for having typhoons is Japan, with an average of 11 a year. Ben Sharp was visiting a friend in central Osaka when they became trapped by Typhoon Jebi.
I was in the shopping centre filming out into the square. You could see like these big trees, it was like bending them over, snapping off branches. This old man tries to walk out of the shopping centre and he's kind of fighting the wind. As soon as he gets to the opening of the shopping centre, the wind just takes him and he blows him straight back in. There was like big cars, so just being abandoned, and you could see them wobbling in the wind and car doors being snapped off. All the debris that was flying about. You could hear it, like metal hitting metal, like trees hitting cars. Wind was really ferocious, and it was at that moment that's when I realised that we needed to get back to a proper shelter.
Ben and his friend had little protection against the intense winds battering the building.
There was definitely the possibility of not getting out of there did cross my mind several times. Everything was just flying about, the sharp bits of metal, bits of wood, and literally if that hit either of us in the face or the head, that could have been game over. So yeah, there was a few times where I wasn't sure how it was going to end, really. We kind of just waited for our time and then decided to run across the road. And as we did that, this big kind of 6-metre curved sign just kind of shot past us on the pavement, so it literally just missed that. Osaka actually turned out to be the worst hit part of Japan by the typhoon. Such a beautiful city, and just seeing a place like that torn apart so easily by the weather was pretty shocking.
Typhoon Jebi was the most powerful storm to hit the country in 25 years. With wind speeds of more than 130 miles per hour, it made light work of flipping trucks and ripping buildings apart. It was the latest in a string of extreme weather events to hit Japan in summer 2018.
In Japan, in July, we had record-breaking temperatures here, over 40 degrees. The warmer seas then around Japan have helped to create more storms, more powerful typhoons this year.
But as the seas heat up around Britain, could we be in for similar freak weather events? While giant storms like hurricanes are extremely rare on these shores, astonishingly, the UK is hit by up to 30 tornadoes a year.
Now, there it goes straight across there, look at it. Wow. Go on, Matt.
We actually see more tornadoes per square mile than the US. It's just that often they don't fall in densely populated areas, or they can happen off our coast. You know, being a small island, we've got a lot of coastline.
Most of the tornadoes we see are associated with large thunderstorm systems, and those thunderstorms produce columns of rotating air underneath, which when they touch down cause real devastation, but over very limited areas.
They generate the strongest winds that we ever record on the planet, in some extreme cases close to 300 miles an hour. Now, we don't get tornadoes of that size in the UK, but we do get quite a few, actually.
Wow, look at it spinning.
Coming up, beware, Fire-nado, the freak inferno at the height of the heatwave.
I've never seen anything like it. It was mesmerising to see, but to see this is an absolute one-off.
And tips on staying cool when the temperature rises.
Look, there's beers in here, everything. It's perfect.
Yeah, apart from the fact that it's in my living room.
Here in Britain, it appears our weather is getting wilder and more unpredictable. We're also getting the strange.
Wow.
The striking. And the bizarre. These apocalyptic red skies were caused by Saharan dust, blown across the country by ex-hurricane Ophelia.
I don't know if you can see that or not, but the sky is literally red, which is quite weird.
And the past year has also given us some other rare weather phenomena. During the heat wave, one in particular was more unusual than most, as firefighter Simon Wardle discovered as he responded to a fire at a plastics factory.
The fire was really intense. The radiated heat was immense.
But what started as an ordinary fire soon turned into a freak weather event.
It started to build up force, and it started to swirl. And it was difficult to know what it was at that stage. Nobody on the ground had experienced or seen that before. I think it reached a height of probably around 50 feet. I've never seen anything like it. It was mesmerising to see.
Luckily for the crews, the fiery twister was contained to the area with molten plastics. So there was nothing to do but to let it run its course.
A few minutes later, there formed what appeared to be an actual tornado, where there was no fire. It was just a swirling of dust or ash, and that was really intense. It wasn't until I got back home and realised that it is actually a firenado, and extremely rare in this country. These firenados can reach temperatures up to 2,000 degrees in Fahrenheit. I'm really pleased that we was able to be there that day and capture that video. To see this is an absolute one-off.
These impressive towers of fire are a very rare sight for Britain, but not too dissimilar to another wind phenomenon.
First and foremost, firenado, it's a bit of a misname for it, really. It should be called a fire whirl. It's very different, but very similar to a tornado. Tornadoes go from the cloud down to the ground, and when tornadoes hit the ground, the winds splay out. But with a firenado, you've basically got a rising column of air. So the air is going from the ground up. It's spiraling around, and within that, you can often get flames trapped, and that is a firenado.
With all the freakish hot weather this year, as thermometers hit a scorching 35 degrees, our record-breaking temperatures led to summer madness.
Ready!
With more than 50 days of non-stop sun, we tried our best to keep cool. And it wasn't just us feeling the heat. Our four-legged friends weren't doing much better. This little guy tried everything to beat the heat, before finally giving up. As the nation simmered and the temperatures showed no signs of easing up, Ruben Fiander came up with a curious way of keeping cool. He just conveniently forgot to let his girlfriend Rebecca in on his plans.
When I first came home and walked in the front door, all of my living room furniture was all out in the hallway. Gerbils are in there, and all the books and whatever else. Even the fireplace was all in the hallway, and I was like, why is all this out here? What are you doing? Look at this.
Hey, babe.
What are you doing?
The weather on the day that I decided to get the pool up was really hot. You know, it was justified why the pool was up.
Why is there a pool in my living room?
So I thought, right, that's it, I'm going to get the pool.
He shoots. He's gone!
I'm going to watch the next England game in the World Cup in my living room.
Look, there's beers in here, everything. It's perfect.
Yeah, apart from the fact that it's in my living room. Even the dog's like, what the f*** doing?
I thought, if this pops, I'm in so much trouble, like so much trouble.
Yeah, well, I was going to put the pool outside.
What sort of normal person would put a pool outside, Ruben James?
But I couldn't play FIFA outside.
Take the TV outside! He used to eat breakfast in it, lunch, dinner. Every time he was here, he was in the pool.
I just had crumpets one morning in there.
And toast.
I had some toast as well.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure there was cereal in the bottom of there as well. Listen, the pool, the dirt, the toys, you have all got to go now.
Fine, I'll get rid of the pool.
So I'm going to be brutally honest here. I had no idea how I was going to take the water out.
I knew it from the look on your face when I asked you anyway.
I'm going to siphon it.
Oh, we'll think about it when it comes to it. Shut up, is it actually working?
The pool is currently in a box in the cupboard.
Where it's staying.
But the thing is, I walk past the cupboard and I swear I can hear the pool calling me. Ruben, Ruben, put me back up. Put me back up.
No, the pool's not going back up. It's not going back up. We're having a party because that's out of my living room. Whoop, whoop.
Even though we crave the heat, when it finally arrives, keeping cool is a struggle. And if you think going abroad is the solution, there's no escaping our extreme weather.
Damn!